We've been studying how fractions can represent a whole set or it can represent a piece of a set. And we are now going to see how it's really just two different types of problems. You are either given the entire set, the whole, and you're finding a piece, or you were given a piece of the set and you are trying to find out what the original whole set was. And once we realize it's one of these two types of problems, we are able to more easily and more efficiently solve these problems. We're always going to have a numerator and we're always going to have a denominator. And they're actually always going to represent the same part of the problem. In both cases, the numerator is going to represent the piece, the portion of the group that we're looking at. For example, it could be a portion of 5 boys out of a group of 10 people. The denominator is always going to represent the total. And this is going to help us solve these problems because in either case, we're either given the piece and we're trying to discover the total, or we're given the total and we're trying to discover the piece. But we should always keep in mind that the piece belongs on the numerator and the total belongs in the denominator. Looking at our first example, Stephen had 30 pieces of chocolate. He gave 1/5 of them away. How much does he have left? Think for a second. Are they giving us information about the entire set, or are they giving us information about a piece of a set? Focus on this 30 pieces. Is that the whole set, or is it a piece of the set? What do you think? In this case, we were given the whole set and we are trying to find a piece of what he has left. He gave away a portion of the entire set of chocolate he had. So, we know that 30 is our total, and we have 1/5 as the fraction. Remember that the denominator is the total, or the whole set, and the 1 on the numerator is the piece, what we're trying to discover. So, whatever the number represents, in this case the 30 is the total, so it represents the 5. That's the number we use first, the one that matches in terms of what it represents. And what I mean by that is the 30 is the total in the problem, or the whole, and the 5 is the whole of the fraction. It is the denominator. We're going to use the 5 first when solving. We do 30 divided by 5 to get 6. Then we use the other portion of the fraction second, and we do 6 times the numerator, and it remains as 6. Now in this case, we really didn't have to multiply by 1, but it's good to follow the same system. So in this case, 6 pieces were given away. Now if we go back to read the word problem, we can see that it's actually how much he has left. So we would have to do real quick 30 minus 6 to get 24. 24 pieces left. We're going to try another practice problem. Gina had $40 but spent 3/4 of it on school supplies. How much did she spend? Again, I want you to think, is the 40, the information given, the whole, or is it a piece? Remember, total is another word that we could use for whole. What do you think? In this problem, we were given the whole, and we're finding a piece. So I know that 40 is my whole, or the total money she had, and she gave away 3/4. Remembering that the denominator represents the whole and the numerator represents the piece. So my 40 is the whole, so which number are we going to start with using? The 3 or the 4? We start our operations with the whole because it matches what our number represents. So we take 40, we divide first, divide it by 4 equals 10, and then we need to use the rest of the fraction and we multiply by the piece. 3 times 10 equals 30. So my answer, how much did she spend? She spent $30. Josh spent $8 on his brother for Christmas. That was 1/4 of what he spent on all of his gifts. What was the total amount he spent? Again, you need to try to think to yourself, are we given information, the $8, is that the whole or is that the piece? Once we figure that out, we can then solve the problem. What do you think? We were given the piece, and now we are trying to find the whole. The question is asking, what is the total amount he spent? So our $8 represents a piece or a part of what he spent overall. Thinking about our fraction, it's always the piece over the whole, or the total, and our fraction is 1/4. So the $8 is representing the numerator in this case. Now when we go to solve, we always start with dividing. So I'm going to divide my information given, the $8, by the part of the fraction it represents. So in this case, we are going to divide by the numerator first because our information is about the piece. So I'm doing 8 divided by 1, which is 8. It didn't really change anything, but it's still a good habit to follow the proper sequence. Then we second multiply by the other part of the fraction, which in this case would be 4, giving us 32. So overall, he spent $32. Our last practice problem, Sally has 12 dolls of a collection. She really wants the whole set. She has 3/5 of the collection. How many are in the whole set? So again, we're thinking to ourselves, the 12 dolls, the information given, is that the whole or is that the piece? At this point, pause the video, trying to figure out before you see my answer. We should be able to identify whether we were given the whole or the piece by this point using our reading skills. Pause the video until you have it figured out. We were given the piece and we're trying to find the whole. The clues we have are a lot of them. Here we can see that she has 12 dolls. And that she has 3/5. So that's our clue that she only has a piece of the collection. And also the question they're asking, how many are in the whole set? We're trying to find the whole set. So there's many clues to know which way we're solving. So I'm going to write down my information of 12 and my fraction with a reminder that the numerator is the piece and the denominator is the whole, and I know that I was given the piece, so my 12 is represented by that 3. So I start with division. I'm dividing by 3 because I have the piece. And then I finish by multiplying by the other part of the fraction. And I should be getting a number larger than 12 because it's the whole set and 12 was just a piece. So 20 dolls, I should have the word dolls, in the whole set. Remember, we answer word problems with sentences. So we're going to practice this more, but these are the basic operations for solving these problems.